My wife cheated on me with an old friend, so I left her. Days later, she overdosed and died. Her family blames me for her death. This happened in April of 2022. My wife had lots of issues with depression. We had a lot of ups and downs in our 5 years together. We had been married about 2 years when I found out she cheated on me with an old high school friend. At first, she told me it was only over text, but a few days later, she confessed to it being physical. I immediately packed some things and went to stay with family. After she told me about the texting aspect of this, after 2 days of her begging me to come back, I went back to our house, where she was still staying, to get more things. I only packed a small backpack in the heat of things. I got there, and it immediately turned toxic, and I left. We had 2 dogs, no kids, thankfully, so part of the reason I wanted to get things was also to check on our dogs. After that visit, I told her I wanted her out of the house by the end of the next day. The next day came along, and she was found dead. She overdosed on all her meds. I've been going to therapy for about a year now, and I still feel a decent bit of guilt and sadness on how it all ended. Her family hates me for her death. We have no contact, and that part still bothers me a lot. They hate me for finding a new relationship and a new life about a year later. I am happy in my new relationship. We just moved in together recently, but the trauma still negatively impacts my life almost daily, including my current relationship. I suffer from a lot of anxiety, depression, and self-image issues now from the past few years and missing lots of details. But there's still not a lot of closure. Am I the idiot for trying to move on and be happy after the worst 2 years of my life? Feel free to ask questions if this all doesn't answer a lot of things. TLDR, wife cheated on me, then ended her life 2 days after I found out. Dogs are healthy and loving life, living with my brother and his family. Couple clarifications. I didn't kick her out of our house. I asked her to stay with her parents while we figured out the next steps. I also did not leave her alone. Her brother was with her 2 of the 3 days before her death. Relevant comments, not the idiot, but realize you did absolutely nothing wrong here. She obviously had a lot of problems and she cheated. No one should be holding you accountable for her mistakes. Logically, I get that I shouldn't be held accountable, but it is hard when her whole family and a decent bit of her friends hold me accountable after her death. It was very private, and I did not have a funeral, so I think there is a lack of closure all around. It has also strained my relationship with one of my brothers because I've moved on too fast in his eyes. I think it will be healthiest for you to distance yourself completely from anyone who gives you crap about this. How would they even know about any of this if she slaughtered herself right away when you asked her to separate? Did she do a Facebook post to announce you were the villain? It is so strange because the first thing I do if someone's spouse slaughtered themselves is to offer support, certainly not blame them. Are you still living in the house you lived in with her? Was it always yours, or was it half hers? Her family is mad you got her half, even though you were going to separate. Why did you not attend the funeral? Is that why they are mad? Suspicious? This is a very complex issue. The parents are always going to resent you. You live, and their little girl is dead. It's terrible for them. They likely blame themselves for not being there for their daughter, and they take it out on you. So, you need to get as far away from them as possible. If you can, sell the house and move a town or 2 away. I sold the house immediately after everything. I was the one working and making money consistently. I didn't get any life insurance money because the plan we had a 2-year self-solving clause in it. That clause had about 3 weeks left before the 2 years mark, and I didn't get anything besides $30,000 from her work for her death through a plan they offer all employees. Her family was supportive for about a month, and then they became very toxic. I have since moved twice in the past few years, but I never stayed at the house we lived in again after her death. What exactly bothers you about her family? That they hate you, or that they went, and the wording wasn't clear? But it seems like you have more work to do in therapy, as this all is having an impact on your new relationship. If anything, what did your therapist say when you told them you found someone and started a relationship? Not the idiot, because you're in C with her family. They hate you because they can't hate her, and they blame you for a very complicated situation. It's easier to identify you as the evil person than to take the time and the raw evaluation of it all. I say not the idiot because you don't have contact with her family, and your family seems to support you. You're not the idiot for wanting a healthier relationship, but you may be the idiot to yourself. It seems you still need work and therapy. Therapy, and while meeting someone is great, were you ready for that or getting into a relationship? I definitely got into the relationship a bit quick, but it also was really helpful in my healing, and she has had my back through it all. Her family hating me bothers me because I didn't make the decisions she did. I definitely have a lot to work on still, and a lot of what I talk about in therapy is about my current relationship and trying to learn to get through certain things and learn to trust. Definitely not the idiot. Are the dogs okay? Dogs are great. They actually live with my brother and his GF and their 2 kids. They get more attention than I could afford to give with my commute to work and new living arrangement. I get to see them from time to time, and it always makes me feel good, sad, but I'm happy they are living a great life. I miss them every day. Story 2. My wife and I married young and in love 4 years ago. We've encountered some bumps in the road, but we still have a great relationship. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I unexpectedly lost my very niche job while my wife is in a local doctoral program. We made a tough decision for me to accept a job offer out of state, for me to make a career transition and allow her to stay in school. This meant a long-distance relationship for 1 year. During this time, I discovered that my wife had an ongoing affair with someone. When confronted, she told me that although she loved this man, she would cut things off and prioritize our relationship. I did contemplate divorce at this time, but decided to go ahead with moving back home to honor my word, provide financial support, and attempt to repair the marriage. I've been back for about 8 months, making huge efforts to connect with and support my wife. We've been in marriage counseling for about 5 months. As time has passed, I sensed that she was acting suspicious in a number of ways. Eventually, I confronted her to ask for call log evidence on her phone that she was where she said she was babysitting for the night. She told me that she could not show me her phone because her call logs would show calls with the man she had an affair with. Turns out, she has called him 5 times this year, including sending bare pictures in these calls. She told him that she missed him and still loved him. She was extremely apologetic and ashamed of her actions, begging me to stay. A part of me believes that she has slept with him this year too, although I have no evidence. He lives within 15 minutes of our home. Well, 3 days later, I get the mail and see a letter from our local superior court. After some investigation, I discover that she filed for divorce 2 months ago. The divorce petition expires 2 months from now. Apparently, she immediately regretted this action and intended to let the divorce petition expire without moving forward. She was very sorry. I even saw the letter, as she never wanted me to find out because if I never found out, it would be like it never happened again. She has been incredibly apologetic. I'm on another level of hurt, and honestly, I'm struggling to believe anything she tells me. I do still love her, and there have been long periods of joy in our marriage. However, the hurt I've experienced these past 2 years have left my emotional bank account deeply in debt. On the one hand, I feel that this string of betrayals is just unacceptable, and divorce is completely justified. On the other hand, I do still love her, and I've invested the entirety of my 20s in this relationship. I just don't know what to do. Some comments bro say this with love. She cheated once, said she would cut it off, then she cheated again. If those 2 sentences aren't enough to show you how this ends, I got bad news for you. Continue counseling to heal, but I'd suggest lawyering up. She won't stay faithful. I'd be done with her, not just for the affair, but for lying and being sneaky about it all. I couldn't trust her again. How can she show she's trustworthy again? All she had to do was tell you there were problems. Instead, she went elsewhere and didn't tell you. Because you had the money, before you know it, you'll have invested your entire 30s as well and still going through the same nonsense. Move on to somebody who's going to respect you. Hit the gym, eat a big steak, protect your money, and tell that bimbo to kick rocks. Gather all the evidence you can that she's a gaping. Lawyer up and divorce her. Lying, cheating, good-for-nothing self. Story 3. Let me start by saying I wasn't the best husband. I'm not victim-blaming here. I, for a long time, ignored her and took her for granted. She did a lot of the housework while I gamed, and always had other things to do in the evenings other than hang out and watch TV with her. I think gaming was some sort of escape for me at the time from the pressures of life and building a career while providing with help from the wife for your children. There was also a time I had a much younger coworker, madly in love with me, and although I kept to marriage vows, I had invited her into our lives as a friend. Obviously, my wife picked up the flags from her pretty quickly. She held resentment about that for a long time. Anyway, my wife had a 6-month affair. I know this part is on her, and I've told her I won't take the blame for that decision. The thing is, she has never tried to blame me. She explained her reasons and says that she felt like she was in a dissociative state, apathetic. She had a traumatic upbringing and, as a child, learned to dissociate to protect herself, and that it honestly could have been anyone because she craved release from those feelings, and I was not the one providing that. It was a time before her affair where she was self-slaughtering and had even made a plan to do it at work so that I wouldn't have a mess to deal with. That broke my heart, but she's had a major depression that I thought was seasonal for years. Turns out, it kind of stayed with her that year. She left me after they had been secretly talking for 3 months after our separation. There was sex involved, which is hard to ignore. However, I started dating because I refused to be some lonely, miserable sap over a woman who no longer wanted me. I dated a girl 8 years younger than her, which she seems to hate, but I did not have sex with her, or anyone for that matter, during our separation. I had found that I wasn't truly ready to move on. I waited the 90 days required by my state of residence for divorce filing, and she cried a ton while we were signing. She agreed with everything and didn't even read the papers. I was fair, 50-50 split with the kids, 50-50th split with any assets. I found it strange she didn't put up a fight for anything we built together, but I took it as some form of respect, even though I felt she shattered that right after. After signing, I wanted to help her feel a bit better about things, and I asked her if she'd like to go with me to a store I planned to shop for shoes at, and then I'd throw in a pair for her too. We got there, and she broke down hard. I had never seen her cry like that. She asked, "Why are you being nice to me?" I told her that just because she was assumed to be an ex didn't mean I had to treat her badly, no matter what she did. She was still the mother of my children. I consider myself emotionally intelligent and extremely empathetic toward others, so much so that pain on others causes me pain, even if I don't know them, even from across the world. She asked, "Is it too late to work on us?" In that split second, even though I had told everyone, including myself, that I'd never take her back, I told her, "Cut it off right now, move back in, and we can work on things together, or it just isn't happening." She did. She literally broke up with her affair partner on his birthday right in front of me, so I know he wasn't the one ending things. In fact, later, he tried contacting her, and she told her friend to let him know to F*** off. Then, she also sent a lengthy text that she never received because she had blocked him on everything, but I saw on phone records 5 texts within the same minute from him, so I know it was a novel or hate message. Lastly, when she was getting some of her things out of his house, she told him, "I was in a vulnerable state of mind, and you came after me?" She says she hates him ever since, says he had a way of making her feel sorry for him all the time, kind of guilt-tripping her to make moves against me, helped build me as a monster in her head. Anyhow, since she has explained all of her reasonings that made her feel like she was in a loveless marriage, those reasonings were completely true. I had not been the man she originally married. I'd let myself go. I didn't care to make sure she knew she was my best friend. I didn't plan dates. I didn't really do much of anything because I just thought that we needed to build still. We went through 10 years of being poor together and then finally made it financially. During our separation, I did a ton of self-reflection and started hitting mountain biking hard, which then led to the gym. I lost 50 pounds. My former appearance was returning along with my natural confidence and self-respect. I had carried before letting myself go, gained more muscle than ever in my life, and just generally felt mentally clear and good. She said she had seen the old me again, how I carried myself, and that it made her fall back in love with me. There was a point midway in the separation that she said she was going to move back in, and I told her no, you're not. So, she assumed I just never wanted her back. That's the backstory. Now, she has been doing everything to make sure I know she wants me. We hang out more than ever, well, at least since we first fell in love 14 years ago. But something strange happened with my brain after being back together for 2.5 years already, even having another child together, which was planned because we felt good about things. I found a passion in our relationship I never even knew was possible, and she has too. We've discussed this to an extreme because we're so in tune with each other. We initially met as teenagers and have loved each other ever since, but not like this. This is different, it's raw emotion. It triggered a defense mechanism in my brain. I feel like I had walls up of some sort without realizing it for this whole 2.5 years back together, and they just now came down, allowing me to be vulnerable and actually address what I think I repressed. It started leading to breakdowns randomly, while driving or showering, just random. I finally shared that with her, and she has had breakdowns too, now apologizing and holding accountability for everything she did. She says there are times she cries and just keeps thinking to herself, how could I have done that to him? She says that I showed her what unconditional love looks like by taking her back and that she will never stop loving me for that. Even her parents are estranged from her. She feels like everyone in her life has turned their backs on her at some point except for me. I ask for advice on moving past this time where suddenly I have a ton of triggers daily, when I didn't for almost 3 years after the fact. Possibly a little perspective on what she's told me and how her actions have been since she's been brutally honest with me would be helpful. She's even told me how she would plan time with the AP. I feel like that is her taking accountability for her actions and owning up to them, which shows me a lot of dedication to us. Because her usual would have been simply to shut down and not talk about the hard stuff. We've both evolved for the better, and I want to hang on to this and give it another shot. I don't want to give in to how my brain keeps telling me to just send it. I know her presence makes me a better person, and I believe in second chances because there's definitely been times where I hurt the relationship throughout my 20s. No affairs, though, while we grew up together, as we put it. Sorry, this was so long. Relevant comments include my dislike for how she put all the blame on a guy at the beginning. Also, you blame yourself too much. Yes, 2 people are responsible for a relationship, but cheating is one person's choice, and she's the only person to blame. It doesn't matter what circumstances were or how you were. She showed her character in a tough situation. So, there will always be a risk for a fallback. Listen to your intuition and body more. OP. It sounds like there was a lot of reflection on both ends, and if you think you can build up the trust, best of luck to both of you.